My wife Mary had a vision. Years ago, she said to me, Tice, one day we're going to be on America's Got Talent. We'll do so well on the show that our name, Duo Transcend, it will be on the billboards, and we'll become headliners in a show in Las Vegas. And then we'll tell our story to motivate others to follow their dreams. And I said, honey, I mow lawns for a living. I'm not sure America's Got Talent needs their lawn mowed. Not that, Tice. For trapeze and skating. Trapeze and skating was something we just started learning for fun. Back then, we had no idea that doing what we do now for a living was even possible. Ladies and gentlemen, Duo Transcend was born on that day, and years later, her vision of us came true. And I'm going to tell you how we did it. But first, before we could accomplish our vision, what we learned along the way is that no matter how hard the goal is, no matter how hard the task may be, we had to learn to drown out the noise and keep our focus simple. Focus on one thing at a time and don't pay attention to the negativity around us. If we focused on the negative space around us, we'd fall into it. Where focus goes, energy flows. Say that with me. Where focus goes, energy flows. When I'm on here, everything off this platform is negative space. It does me no good, so I don't focus on it. I don't waste my time thinking about all of this. But I'm also not telling myself, oh, don't fall off, don't fall off, don't fall off. That's subconsciously focusing on the negative space. I have to anchor my words and thoughts in positivity. Katie Kaczynski, author of the book Awaken, she said, all you need is one safe anchor to keep you grounded when the rest of your life spins out of control. John Durenboss, a friend of mine, he played 14 years in the NFL. He's also a fellow America's Got Talent alumni. We performed together in Vegas. He said to me, Tice, think about it. Up there, you are the anchor. Mary's success is directly linked to your ability to do your job. You cannot have a bad day. Can you imagine? Then John said this, and it changed my life. He said, your ability to anchor yourself and lead will dictate the quality of life for those under your stewardship. Your ability to anchor yourself and lead will dictate the quality of life for those under your stewardship. It's just like all of you. All of you are the anchors grounding your show. The more grounded, firm, secure, rooted, based you are, the more those under your stewardship can thrive. I've got a couple metaphors for you. I like metaphors. I recently heard a saying, and it goes like this: what you look for in earnest, you'll find. In other words, if you really want to find something, you're going to find it. When I heard this, it rang true to me because I know the opposite's true. When you've decided you can't find something, you'll discover you won't find it. Henry Ford, he said it like this: whether you believe you can do something or you believe you cannot, in either case, you're right. Now, I've been coaching my 7-year-old son, Jax, on his standing back tucks. We've got him in gymnastics, and he's killing it. He's doing great and everything, but it's the backflips that he's having a hard time with. And so one day we were practicing, and it was just failure after failure. He would do the backflip, and he would flop on his face. Do the backflip, flop on his face. And then finally he stood up and he says, Dad, backflips are stupid. And I said, again. Oh, Dad. Again. And he just laid here, face down, for about as long as I've made you watch me lay here for. Until finally he put his hands on his hips and he said, Dad, my brain won't let me do it. And I said, Jax, what do you mean, buddy? Well, my brain's kind of wonky, and it keeps saying I can't do it. So then I laid down next to him. Jax, what you look for, you'll find. When you believe in something, you're right. I believe in you, son. So then I helped him up. And then I stood next to him to spot him. And when he finally built up the courage to attempt another backflip, he just jumped straight in the air. He didn't flip at all. But I knew he wasn't going to flip. So with my hand, I swung his legs around, and he landed the backflip perfectly. He looked at me so surprised. He didn't realize that it was me that swung his legs around. So he immediately did another backflip. This time all on his own, because now he believed he could do it. You see, it was the belief that gave him power. It's the belief first that makes a thing become a reality. He just needed to believe that he could do it. Then he was able to focus on the task. Tony Robbins tweeted a few years ago. He said a fantastic analogy for the power of focus is racing cars. When your car begins to skid, the natural reflex is to look at the wall and attempt to avoid it. But if you keep focusing on what you fear, that's exactly where you'll end up. Professional racers know that we unconsciously steer in the direction of our focus, so with their lives on the line, they turn their focus away from the wall and towards the open track. Now, one of my best friends competes in autocross racing. I used to watch him go fly around the track all the time. And if you were to sign yourself up for racing school today, the first thing that they're going to teach you is not how to drive a race car. The first thing you'll learn is how to recover when you start to lose control. Racing schools, they have a mantra. It's like a saying that they drill into the heads of their drivers to help them recover when they're losing control. It's a little cliche, but it works. Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. Professional racers know that if you don't know how to recover, your racing career is going to be very short, very expensive, and very painful. A lot of you might be racing through life and you're having a painful experience because you don't know how to recover very well. Or maybe you've kind of figured out how to recover, but you're crashing into everyone else's car along the way. This makes your next trip around the track a bit scary for the other drivers around you. They're saying, I don't want to get close to that doctor, that manager, that nurse, that officer, that lawyer. I don't want to do it. So in racing school, they put you in what's called a skid car, and then they have you start flying around the track. You're not going full speed, but you're going fast enough to know that you're hauling butt. And then they purposefully knock your car off track. You see, the skid car, it has a computer in it, and the driving coach pushes a button and it lifts one of the wheels, but you never know which direction you're going to go off track. So you're flying around the track, you're flying, and all of a sudden you start spinning out of control. When this happens, the driving coach tells you there is one thing to do. Look in the direction you want to go. Focus on the open track. Don't focus on the wall. Keep your eye on the prize. Professional drivers know that we unconsciously steer in the direction of our focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. Now, when I'm on that platform, there is only one thing for me to do. I focus on one single thing. But in the beginning, as I was learning, I was unfocused and distracted. I would pick Mary up and start spinning, and when I started to skid and get out of control, I would focus on the edge of the platform to make sure I wasn't getting too close, because I was afraid I didn't want to fall off. But where focus goes, energy flows, baby. We fell off the platform every time. Mary knows. Oh, she knows. It was so difficult to learn this act because it was a painful failure every time we tried. But like the race car driver's natural reflex was to look at the wall, if you keep focusing on what you fear, that's exactly where you'll end up. You see, I was focusing on the negative space. It took months for me to build the courage, trust in the process, stop looking at the edge, and focus 100% on the prize. I take my eye off the prize, we fall. But now, I've dialed in near perfect focus. I've got laser-like vision. It doesn't matter if you surround this platform with sharks swimming all around. Listen, a few years... Mary's gonna kill me for telling this story. I'm telling it anyways. I was given explicit instructions not to tell this story. A few years ago, we got hired to skate at this very strange event. We didn't know anything about the company other than it was this women's conference of some kind in Las Vegas. So we said, sure, we'll come to it. And right before we went out on stage, before every performance we ever do, Mary and I, we hold hands and we say a prayer to God. And in that prayer, I always ask God to give us the focus we need to perform at our best. After our prayer, we stepped out on stage, got up on the skate platform, and right before our music started, I gazed out in the audience with my usual smolder look. And I quickly realized all of the women in the audience were topless. They were just bare-chested, jumping up and down. Oh, Neil Transon, we love you. It was fantastic. And guys, I'm telling you, Boys in the room, when I say focus is the key and don't look at the negative space, that was the hardest time I have ever had not looking at the negative space. I'm up here trying to focus with Mary in my hands like, I looked up to the heavens and I said, oh Lord, where art thou? Please give me the strength. When Mary looked out in the audience and she saw she grabbed that blindfold right away and she said, put it on. Still to this day, we don't know what that event was. We did our act, packed, and ran. Side note, quick lesson on do your homework on your clients before you agree to work with them. When we were on the phone with the team here in Denver, I asked them if there would be any shirtless women here tonight. And they're like, no, of course not. And I was like, well, I guess we're not coming then. Listen, if I focus, I know I won't fall. If I focus, failure is the last thing on my mind. When I'm up here doing my thing with Mary in my hands, I am very careful with the words I tell myself. I don't say to myself, don't fall off. You know what I say to myself? Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. And folks, that prize is my wife, Mary. She's the one single thing I focus on. It was when I stopped looking at the edge and committed my full focus on her and looked at nothing else the entire time, it was then that I stayed dead center every time. Like the race car driver, he keeps his eye on the prize. His prize is the open track. My prize is Mary. I know exactly how to recover. When I'm afraid and I start to get close to the edge, I focus harder on her. Whatever you focus on, that's where you're going to go. Whatever you focus on, that's what you're going to get more of. Focus on what you want, not on where you think you are, where you think you've been. Focus on what you want immediately. Don't hesitate. If I hesitate with Mary in my hands, we fall. Focus on what you want, and you'll get more of it. Focus on what you're afraid of, you'll get more of that. Let me ask you a question. After seeing what Mary and I do on this platform earlier this evening, do you think it'd be easy for me to find someone to replace Mary? Do you think it'd be easy for her to find someone to replace me? We are so valuable to each other that we both have become irreplaceable. Listen, you all have value. As human beings, you come prepackaged with value. Now you need to figure out how to become irreplaceable. Become so damn good at what you do that no one can take your place. What can you do today to start becoming irreplaceable for your team? What is that negative space that pulls your focus away from you becoming the very best at what you do? What's your prize? What's that one single thing that helps you recover and puts you back on the open track? When you can answer those questions, ladies and gentlemen, you too will stay dead center every time. Thank you.